Do you want to reduce or eliminate motion blur from your images in camera instead of in post? Well, Canon has developed a technology to not only reduce motion blur, but to reduce the adverse effects due to blur correction. But before we get to the details, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera coverage. Japanese patent 2024-03-3748, filed on August the 31st, 2022, and published March the 13th, 2024. This is achieved by continuously capturing a series of images, of enabling blur suppression in photos with the subject in motion. This is achieved by continuously capturing a series of images through shooting continuous. Based on the chosen scenario, an image is then generated, ensuring that the level of motion blur matches or exceeds the specified threshold set by the photographer. I know what you're thinking. How does the camera know to isolate the subject from the background or whatever object that you've decided to isolate? Well, it's probably related to any sort of new AI capabilities added to the camera. We are expecting the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1 and likely other cameras that come afterwards to have, how should we say, updated AI capabilities or enhanced AI capabilities. And while modern AI generators aren't perfect, as we can see with this image generated by Sora, take a look at the legs here, that's not possible. As a photographer, if done in camera, you would select a particular part of the frame, whether it be an object or a subject, and then of course you would isolate based on that, but that would seem rather strange. What I could see being more useful is to actually reduce blur altogether from the entire frame. But it's nice to know that we have certain abilities to adjust this. But what I think is going to happen here is this is one of those capabilities that in post, through Canon's professional software, we'll be able to edit the image and reduce or eliminate any sort of motion blur. And that's really a big thing. When it comes to shooting out of focus, that's where we most often get blur. And it's really irritating because when you look at that photo, you think, boy, that was a great photo. If only somehow I could fix this. And while there are Photoshop plugins, and Photoshop isn't cheap, but there are plugins that you can attach to the software to actually sharpen things up, to take advantage of the capabilities, the computational capabilities, to generate a stills image that, well, at first glance looks perfect. And Canon did recognize that by reducing motion blur, it could result in certain artifacts, which they addressed in patent JP 2024-03-2621. This patent solves some of the problems that we predicted would come up in that first patent, and it's reducing the adverse effects due to blur correction, while maintaining the effect of blur correction. This is accomplished by generating a second image by sharpening the first image, generating the first weight map based against the first image, then generating a second weight map based on the second image. Then we generate a third image, and this is based on the first and the second weight maps. The first and second weight maps indicating the weight of the first or second image in generating the third image. Yeah, I know it does sound a little bit awkward to follow. This is initially published in Japanese, and it's written in legalese for patent lawyers, and so the machine translation, well, it doesn't always do the best job. But one thing I found very interesting when I read both of these two patents, now one of them seemed like it was providing blur compensation or suppression in the camera, while the other would do it in software. Why do I know this? Well, if we take a closer look at the patent application, in this case, 03-3748, we believe that this is done in camera as it refers to an apparatus, which apparatus is defined as technical equipment or machinery. But the second patent filing, 03-2621, doesn't refer to any apparatus, merely using the more generic term unit. But is this really a big deal? Is it something that we can benefit from? I mean, after all, with today's modern cameras having IBIS, a really fast autofocus system with eye tracking, with head tracking, torso detection, with AI enhanced autofocus, it's rare that the autofocus is going to miss. And with IBIS, it's rare that any sort of jolt to the camera, whether you hiccup or whatever else, is going to somehow produce a blurry or out of focus image. Still though, there are those occasions where even I myself will produce an image that's blurry for whatever reason. Maybe I had the settings left over from shooting something else and didn't correct it, and I've got this blurry image, and I didn't discover it when I was shooting. I discovered it when I got back home after my vacation that I spent an awful lot of money on. There are those certain situations where, like that one, that having this blur compensation in camera and then having the photo software itself to be able to take into account and further reduce suppression, but also any artifacts as a result, well, that's a pretty big deal. And what we're seeing here is not just one patent application that's isolated to blur correction. What we're seeing is multiple patent applications working together. That it's not just one single piece of technology. It involves a rather complex mathematical way of solving the problem from in-camera to software. And when I was scanning over the patent applications this morning, I did find an awful lot of goodies. These two weren't the only two patent applications that I'm going to be publishing videos on. I found enough content to come out with a good 5 to 7 more. Some more important and more interesting to you as a photographer or a videographer, others not so much. Now, one thing I would like to get from you is, let me know what's important to you. Do you find these patent applications important? Do you like how I break down the patent application? Does it make sense? Is it something that you find useful, or would you rather I just stop doing these types of videos altogether? Let me know. Give me your honest comments down below so I can help assess whether these videos are useful or not. And while I can look at the YouTube data showing how much people are watching it based on the number of subscribers I have and based on non-subscribers, it's really helpful to get your first-hand opinion. Maybe there's something else I can add to these patent applications. And one thing I've started doing based on your feedback is right at the end, right when I close off this video, is I take all the blueprints, all the images, all the figures included in each patent, and I put it right to the end of the video. So you can look through them and, well, assess for yourself. Although some of them are written in Japanese and I can't do any machine translation of, well, the images. And, well, I probably could, but it would take an awfully long period of time. And the actual patent applications themselves are anywhere from a couple of pages to 20 or even 40 pages with some 150 paragraphs. I don't see the point of machine translating this, which can be done relatively quickly, and sticking that right to the end because, again, the machine translation is pretty bad at times, and I think it would be more confusing than not. So let me know your thoughts on doing more patent application filings to give us a hint as to what we could see in upcoming Canon cameras. With that being said, there's something I want to remind you about, that the amount of deals on right now for Canon, Nikon, Sony, Panasonic, Lumix, everything, and yes, I know Panasonic and Lumix are separate companies. I meant to say OM Systems, lenses, camera bodies. There's an incredible amount of incredible deals on right now. I'm going to draw your attention to a few more deals that just came up today. Let me draw your attention to the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. Released last year, it's $200 off. And the R6 Mark I, well, it's $500 off. With the R5C going for $35.99, some $1,300 to $1,500 off, and the R5 at $29.99, some $400 off its recently reduced price. But if you buy from Adorama, you also get a SanDisk 128GB CF Express Type B card, as well as their card reader. But the Canon 1DX Mark III, Canon's flagship DSLR camera, is still stubbornly priced at $64.99, the same price as it was announced. While the R3, providing more and additional capabilities, and some would argue being a better camera, is priced at $44.99. And if you are interested in taking advantage of these deals at B&H, Adorama, or Amazon.com, then please consider using my affiliate links in the description down below. These ones right here. If you do click on those links and purchase anything, whether it's related to the products I talked about or what they're linked to, I do get anywhere from 2 to 12% back, and that's greatly appreciated. It's really what allows this channel to grow. And a big thanks to everybody over the weekend who purchased camera gear and accessories. From the bottom of my heart, it means an awful lot to me. It's what's allowed me to take this channel and turn it into a real business, to the point where today, here in early 2024, I see myself within, I don't know, potentially 2 to 3 years, retiring from my day job and doing this full time. And that's huge. That's a huge opportunity, because then instead of just doing news and camera forecasting, I can spend more time to go more in depth behind certain lenses. And that's something I really look forward to. I can't wait to. So hopefully if this channel can keep growing, if it can keep getting that critical mass to the point where I can do this full time, that indeed would be a big deal. But again, I couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for subscribing, commenting, liking, and using my affiliate links. But that's it for today. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon. And now, let's cue those patent images. Boy, I just can't seem to speak. The first part of the video I was fine, but now not so much. Anyhow, enough of me. Let's take a look at the patent images from both patent applications.